I guarantee you, when you watch this video, you're going to realize that it is so different than all these other articles or videos that you've seen about how to get your offer accepted in this extremely competitive real estate market. I didn't just put down the easy things that everyone knows, like just to pay more to get pre-approved and all that. I didn't want to waste your time with information that you already know. So I guarantee you, when you watch this, you're probably going to watch it multiple times. You're probably also going to try and save the list. So instead of doing that and getting you to work harder and get you to pause, do screenshots, whatever, I'm going to also have a link at the end of this on whatever social platform you're on, with a link to all these 10 items. And also, whether you're on a podcast, obviously you're not going to see what I'm showing, but you'll still have that link if you look at the description of the video. And all the other social media platforms, you'll have the link. And obviously, when I go through this, you'll understand better what I'm talking about. I want this to be the list where you get that property that you've been dreaming about, that you and your family have been thinking about, the one that you go to sleep at night thinking about, the one in the morning that you think about, the one that you tell the real estate agent to put an offer on. I don't want your hopes to get crushed when you fall in love with a property and put an offer that you think is a very fair offer and lose it. I can't guarantee anything, but if you do these 10 different things, there's actually 9 and a bonus one at the end, so it's 10. But I really, this is my way of doing my best to get you to get your offer accepted. And before I get into it and before I start sharing my screen, I want to apologize to you. If you're a buyer in this market, whether it's in Miami or anywhere in the US, it sucks. It sucks because there's no inventory. And I know, and the team knows, Will, Vico, Jade, and the rest of the team, Haley, all of them know that when you look at a property, there's so little inventory. You've probably spent hours looking at properties online. You've probably narrowed that list down and down and down. You probably sent properties where multiple times, probably all the time, many of them aren't available. The other agent, the listing agent, didn't update it in whatever website you're looking at. And I'm sorry about that. My goal is to get your offer accepted. And please, with that, pay attention to this. No notes needed to be taken. I'll have a link to everything. So let's start. So the first thing I want to let you know is these are the 10 best ways to get your offer accepted. And this is using psychology. It's not just using mathematics and analytics. It's using everything. It's using the psychology. I've been in this business 17 years, and thankfully, I've been fortunate enough to work with some athletes, some celebrities. I've been able to, not just me, the whole team. We've been fortunate to do a great job with our business, and it's because each time we try and get better. We failed multiple times, but at the end of the day, we want to make sure we do everything to help you get this home, because we know your move, there are many other people that are involved in this move. It's not just you. It's not just whoever is involved in that move with you. There are so many other people involved: your friends, your family, your new coworkers, your new friends, maybe getting closer to a family member, maybe getting closer to a sick family member, maybe getting a job that's closer to your home where you can get home earlier so you can spend more time with family. So I really took many hours to create this list. And I don't want it just to be like a video that you see on YouTube that has no thought put into it. So let's get into this. So number one, as you can tell, I'm not the best making a slideshow. I could have done it, but I didn't want to waste time. I wanted to get this out as soon as I could. The first thing is, think like a seller. When you're a seller, most of the sellers, they're probably also buyers at this time. So it's like a double whammy. As difficult as it is to buy a house. Imagine trying to navigate the process of selling a house, buying a house. You're not sure if the person's legit or not. So think like a seller. Think of what, if you're selling a property, what are things that you would want to know about that person? First thing is you want to make sure that that person that buys that house is going to actually close. You're not going to get an offer, set your plans up for everything, and then have a deal that doesn't close. So what would give you more clarity with that offer you got as a seller? One, if you got proof of income, if you saw what that person makes, if you saw their credit report, if you know a little bit about what they do for a living, if you knew all those things, you'd feel a lot more secure about your offer. So as a buyer, if you're going to put in an offer, give that information that would make that seller more comfortable with your offer. Think like that. Pretend you're that one receiving that offer. If the offer that you are giving, if you were that seller and you receive that, would you feel secure? And if you don't, then you may want to work a little bit harder on it. So make sure that that security, that clarity from that seller, they feel really good about that offer that they're getting. Okay, so that's number one. So number two, the call, don't guess. So I would think the majority of the people that are listening to this are working with a real estate agent. And so typically what happens is what real estate agents do, the majority, a very, very high percentage of them, will just guess what the seller is doing. From experience, again, I've been doing this a while. Experience is usually the seller wants to close as soon as possible. They want the shortest inspection time. They want, there's so many different things, and I'm not going to get into all of them, but there's so many different things that typically a seller wants. But that's not always the case. Not every seller wants to do a quick closing. Maybe they don't have a property yet. There are many things that a seller that are very important to a seller that isn't just the price. So one of the things to find out is prior to putting in an offer, and instead of guessing what the seller is looking for, have your agent find out, besides, and you don't have to make anything unfair, but I mean, it's a good request. If your agent reaches out to that other agent and says, obviously besides price, obviously they want the highest price, but besides price, what else is important to your seller? It could be a closing date. It could be maybe needing to move back into the place and have a post occupancy where they rent it out from the new owners. Maybe it could be multiple things, but instead of us guessing about those things, let's find out what it is. And pretty much almost all agents, if they're good agents, they'll ask their seller, is it okay if I tell that other agent what is most important to you? And they'll probably tell what it is, because at the end of the day, we want this to be something that works for all parties involved. So that's number two. So number three, this is something that gets into emotion, okay? It's the seller's move. If I was an agent and I'm representing a buyer, and I really want to go that extra step, and when we do offers, we think it's all price a lot of times, and it's not. There are other things involved. Imagine if you're a buyer and you offer to pay for the seller's move, whether it's a moving truck, whether it's hotel, moving, travel, whatever. If you offer that, or even ask the other agent prior to putting in your offer if that would help, you never know. It shows that you care. It shows that you really are concerned about that other move, what's going on in their life. And if you offer to pay for their move, could help. We've won offers because of that. So it's something you may want to think about. So number four, this is super, super important. So number four, there are a few things. There's three different things. The first thing is whatever real estate app you're using to find your properties, whether it's Compass's app, which is great because it shows properties that are off market. Sometimes it shows properties that are coming soon. It shows Compass exclusive properties. So If you use the Compass app, whether you use the Zillow app, the Redfin app, whether you use Realtor.com, Trulia, Homes.com, there's a million of them. Whatever app you are using, make sure 100% certain that you have your notifications set up where if something comes on in that area that you are looking for, that it notifies you immediately. Notifies you with the sound, not just like something that pops up on your phone, but a sound. And if your phone is on silent, where it vibrates, so you know you're 100% aware of this property coming on the market. Because first to know about the property gives you an advantage about that property. So you want to be certain that you have those notifications set up immediately. Another thing is, if you know a good agent, if you're working with an agent that's experienced, they're going to have access to off-market properties. They're going to know about properties that are coming soon. So for those of you that don't know what off-market properties are properties that are for sale, that for whatever reason, maybe it's a divorce sale, maybe the person is private, meaning maybe they're a policeman, maybe there's an attorney, a defense attorney, maybe there's someone that doesn't want their information out there, their personal life out there. Maybe they're very wealthy and they don't want it to be in the news. So they're going to be like off-market properties. These properties that are for sale that a lot of people don't know, that you can't really find on most websites. Another thing is, or if it's a coming soon property, a property that when you have a relationship like our team does with other agents, we know whether they work for Compass, Sotheby's, Coldwell Banker, whatever the place is, EXP, whoever it is, we have such a strong relationship with these other agents. We know that when they have properties that are coming in the market in the areas that we work, they notify us before it comes on the market. And we do the same for them. So we will know, and hopefully your agent will know, of off-market properties and coming soon properties. Because if you know about these properties, you're competing against less people and you have a better chance of getting your offer accepted. Number five is speed and flexibility. So I have four different things. Let me move up so you can see it. So speed and flexibility. So I'm going to go over speed first. So speed, sort of like what it ties into the last thing that I was talking about, speed to knowing about about the property first coming on the market. If you know about a property coming on the market first, you will at least have a chance to compete against it. Like I have a rental listing right now, came on the market yesterday at 6 p.m. And right now it is 3:01. So it's 3:01 the next day. So it's roughly, it's less than 1 day on the market. And within that time, so this property was listed for 4,200. We're already over 5,000 in offers for this rental. But imagine, so this is the first day, it's less than the first day. Imagine it's on a purchase and you find out about a property 2 or 3 days later. You're gonna find out that it's on pending status, that an offer is accepted. So you need to know as soon as possible about the properties. So speed. So when you see that property sooner, you could obviously put an offer quicker, and it'll definitely help you. So when you do put that offer, think about flexibility. Think about, again, that seller, their flexibility. So in the past, when we had a market that was a normal standard market where our inventory wasn't so small and sales weren't 3 to 4 times what they were the year before, the numbers, we were able to do a lot of things, have many contingencies on our contract, whether it's an appraisal, inspection, financing contingency. And when I tell you number 5, you have to use caution and make sure it makes sense for you. I don't want you to do things that don't work for you and put you in a bad position. But some of the things that that work, like some of the contingencies that work well. The inspection contingency. If you're going to do a lot of remodeling on the property, and there's certain things about the property and it's relatively new, and you have a good sense of, you have a friend or a relative or whoever it is, someone that's sort of like a handyman, have them look at the property when you go see it. If you do that and you think the property is legit, it's good, and it doesn't really need many things on it. If you have a friend that's a roofer, a roofing company, whatever, have them look at these things prior to putting in the offer. Again, speed. If you know about a listing that comes right away and you have everything set up where you have these friends or people that you work with that are willing to meet with you immediately, make sure that they're, whatever you have to pay them, make sure that they're ready to go and they can see this place with you. They can look at these things. And if they say the property is decent, there are going to be a few minor things. Take that into consideration when you put in your offer. If there's no inspection contingency and the property looks like it checks out, it's not that bad. It's not that bad. But if it's a very old property and there are things that make it seem like a little bit shady and you need an inspection contingency, don't waive it. I'm not telling you to do things that don't make sense, but if it makes sense, do it. It'll give you a better chance. The next thing is an appraisal contingency. If you're in a position to put like 30, 40, 50% down, you may want to either not have an appraisal contingency if the property seems like it's in line, or have an appraisal contingency. Like, I'll give you an example. Say the property is 800,000 and you're putting 50% down, or say 20% down, make it more realistic. You're putting 20% down, and that, let me give you a better example. Sorry about that. Say you're putting 30% down, forget the 50% down, but 30% down. That at 20% or more, you don't have mortgage insurance. So it doesn't matter what it is, as long as it's 20% or more as the down payment. So in this case, if it's an $800,000 property and you put an appraisal contingency at $800,000 and it appraised at $750,000, you have the option to back out of the deal because it didn't appraise for the sale price. But in this case, because you're putting 30% down, which for 800,000, you're putting, over that 20%, you're putting $80,000 more than that. That is what's required. Why not lower that appraisal contingency? That appraisal contingency to 720 instead of 800. It says that you'll pay up to 80,000 more than the appraised value up to the sale price. So there are different ways of doing it. I want to make it less complicated, but if you're open to an appraisal contingency or waiving it, if there's a chance that you are going to be paying cash, waive that appraisal contingency. It's something else that the seller doesn't have to worry about. Financing contingency. If there's a chance you're going to pay cash or you're going to finance and you don't really care, make sure that you waive the finance contingency if you can pay cash, if it works for you. Again, I don't want you to do anything that doesn't work for you. So that's number 5. Number 6, perfect paperwork and kindness. So perfect paperwork, what you want to do is when you put in that offer, you want to make sure, whether it's you or the agent or attorney, whoever's doing this paperwork for you, it's typically 99% of the time it's an agent. I would say make sure the paperwork is perfect, that everything is filled out, that there are no mistakes on it. If that paperwork is perfect, it makes that other agent and seller make it appear, and I'm sure it is, that you're professional, that your agent is professional, that you're going to do everything in a professional manner, and it's going to make the sale easier, and kindness. If that agent and you are kind when you go to the house, if your agent is kind to the other realtor, and it goes a long way. If you're at the house and you say kind things and you're nice to that other agent, they're going to remember it. They're going to root for your offer. They're going to do what they can. But if you're mean and you're late to the showing and you say a bunch of bad things about the house, it's not going to help you, because the odds are, no matter how nice that house is or how not nice that house is, that person is probably going to get multiple offers. And a lot of agents, unfortunately, have egos, and you don't want to hurt their ego. I know it sounds sad, but if you're kind, sugar goes a long way. Honey, I forgot what the saying is, but basically you can definitely do better if you're kind to that person. Okay, so going to number 7. Number 7, it's whether you're paying cash or financing. If you are paying cash, you want to make sure that you send your proof of funds with that offer. You want to make sure that person feels very secure, the seller and the other agent feels very secure with your offer. So what does proof of funds mean? Proof of funds is basically paperwork that's from a website or your bank rep saying that you have the correct amount of funds in your account to pay for that property. So one of the things that happens with proof of funds, a lot of agents, so say you're buying $1 million home and you have proof of funds for like 2 million. A lot of agents worry about like getting that proof of funds to show exactly $1 million. There are different thoughts on this, but I wouldn't recommend making it the exact number of your offer if you have more. I would make it more, because you want to make sure that, because a lot of times when there are multiple offers, sometimes they counter an offer, and you don't want to have to worry about getting another updated letter with the new funds. And if it's $1 million and you can show $1.5 million or $1.3 million or 2 million, whatever it is, it shows that you're a more qualified buyer. So I wouldn't worry about that. Okay, so for those people that are financing, this helps a lot. Imagine if you're a seller and your agent gets a call from, so say I'm buying a property, I'm the buyer, and I okay it for my lender to call that other agent and tell them how strong a buyer I am. Instead of just having a pre-approval, say my lender, Max, calls up the other agent and says, hey, Max, I'm sorry. So Max is my lender. Max calls the other agent and says, hey, this is Max. I just wanted to let you know you're going to be getting an offer later from Amit. And, I know you get a lot of pre-approvals, but we've looked at the credit. We've looked at everything. And I just wanted to let you know Amit and his family are people we wished made up our portfolio, because their credit is exceptional and there would be absolutely no chance that they wouldn't qualify for the mortgage, and it should be a super easy closing for you. Imagine if you got a call like that as opposed to a pre-approval letter. It's going to make a big difference. So I would recommend getting that done. It's helped us get many deals done and offers accepted, even offers where our offer wasn't the highest offer. They just felt more secure, the sellers did. So going on to number 8, show that you're all in. And what do I mean? It's like with escrow deposits. Typically in Miami, when we put in an escrow deposit, and I can always tell when an agent has been doing it a while and is a professional agent with and their experiences in different price ranges. In Miami, and it's different for all markets, but in Miami, if you are doing a finance offer, the typical escrow deposit is 5% of the sale. So if it's $1 million property, that escrow deposit could be 50,000. Typically 50,000. Sometimes it's in one deposit, sometimes it's in multiple deposits. If you're in this case, I would recommend making it in one deposit. And so for those of you that don't know what an escrow deposit is basically, It's something that is, it's your good faith money. The good faith money is telling that seller that if you don't abide by your obligations on the contract, you will lose that money. So if you close, you don't lose it. If you do everything you're supposed to on the paperwork, on the contract, you're not going to lose it. So it makes more sense to go all in on your escrow. And so if it's a finance, I mean, if it's a cash deal, typically in Miami, it's 10%. So instead of 50,000, it would be 100,000. But those are just the norms. Imagine if you're doing a finance deal and say you're putting 20% down on a finance deal, you put 10% as an escrow deposit rather than 5%. It shows that you're more in on the deal. You're all in on the deal. If you're doing a cash deal and you put 15 or 20% on your escrow deposit, it shows that your offer is different than the standard offer. We want to do everything that we can to stand out and put us in a good position as well, where it doesn't hurt us. Okay, so going on to number 9. Number 9 is an escalation clause. An escalation clause, for those of you that don't know, is a clause where basically, typically it's when someone puts an above asking offer, and then there's this addendum that says you're willing. So let's do an example. Say you're buying a property, you put in an offer for $1 million, but then you put in this escalation clauses that says you're willing to pay up to $20,000 more than the highest offer that the seller gets, up to $100,000. So what happens is, so in this case, with this escalation clause, say that the highest offer that that seller got was like $1,050,000, and you had an escalation clause saying that you'd pay, much higher than that $1,050,000. So if you said you would do an escalation clause up to 20,000 above the highest offer, up to $1,200,000, in this case, if the seller accepted it, you would pay $1,070,000. They would show you the other highest offer at $1,050,000, and you'd go on your way and you'd have a deal. So some agents do that. I don't like them, to be honest with you, because what happens, especially in Miami, other markets may be different, but a lot of markets, the agents aren't that good with them. They're not very versed with escalation clauses. So they get confused, they get flustered that they don't really understand them well. And also besides that, and so they go away from them. But besides that, as a seller, that seller is probably a buyer too. So that buyer has probably lost offers. That seller who became a buyer has probably lost offers as well. So imagine this. Imagine you're this buyer and you think it through. You spend all your time with your family, or you or whoever, your other people that you're moving in with, and you figure out, okay, so this property, they're asking $1 million. You want to offer $1,070,000. You don't have an escalation clause. You put your best foot forward and you do $1,070,000. Imagine that compared to someone that is trying to get it for $1 million, but is saying, okay, well, I'll pay 20,000 higher than the highest offer. Some sellers don't like it, in my experience. They don't like that that person didn't commit to a higher price from the start. They don't like that that other person got an unfair advantage with that escalation clause. Some sellers do, some sellers don't. So use caution. A lot of agents will say always use escalation clauses. I don't agree. I've lost offers with escalation clauses when the buyer insisted that we did them, and they were for less than the highest number that that escalation clause would be. Okay, so going on to number 10. Number 10 is basically taking a step back. What happens a lot of times is in these crazy markets where we lose time and time again offers, and hopefully if you use my advice, you won't lose an offer. Can't guarantee you anything, but it'll give you a much, much greater chance. But before you overbid and before you do all these things, let's look back. Like I said, take a step back. The thing that happens is it's just human nature. When we lose something, we want it more, whether it's a girl, a guy, or whether it's like you want something and it's, you go online to buy something and it's sold. You know, human nature is to want it more. And when we lose properties our ego gets hurt, usually for most people, and we end up just wanting to win. And the problem is, it makes us do things when we think emotionally. A lot of times we don't always do the best things. So take a step back and think about the reasons why you're moving. If in 2, 3 years from now, did it really make sense for you to pay all that money for this property? Is this a property that you guys really like? Or are you just settling for this property and paying more than you should, and then moving in a year or two where it's going to hurt you? Make sure it's the right property. If you're going to overbid and overpay, make sure it makes sense for you. And if it doesn't, if you don't have to buy in this market, don't buy in this market. Take your time, because you're going to get crushed. You're going to get crushed by paying way more than you should. You're going to get crushed by probably settling for something that you don't really want. And if you have to move in a year or two, you're going to get crushed when you sell it, because this market isn't going to last forever. As long as we hear all the time about all this pie in the sky talk about how great this real estate market is, how it's going to last forever. And you know what, my prediction, I'm just, predicting, I can't guarantee anything. I don't think it's going to last for close to as long as people think it is. Is it going to last till the end of the year? Yeah, I think so. Is it going to last for the end of next year? I really don't think so. I don't think it's going to be close to that. It can't. It's unsustainable. So number 10, take a step back, think about why you want to move. Before you put in that offer, think, does it make sense for you and your family to overpay this much for the property? One of the most common things that I'm telling buyers nowadays is, are you sure? Are you sure that makes sense for you? Because at the end of the day, our team wants to make sure that if you buy a property, that you feel good about your decision, that when you have people coming over and they ask you, or they find out how much you paid for your property, that you don't feel embarrassed because you did something wrong. Or if you have to move, you're not stuck because the market changed and you can't sell it for what you have into it. So with that said, if you have any questions, please do ask us. You can reach out to us. You could either leave a comment on whatever platform you're watching this on or listening to it on. You can go to allinmiami.com. You can reach out to us from there, or just leave a comment below. We want to do whatever we can to help you. And just one last thing, remember, I have a link to all these top 10 things that you should do. And please do take advantage of that. And before you put in your next offer, look at these things. Make sure you ask your agent, are you doing this or this? I'm not telling you to micromanage them, but just ask them things, because these things will help you, because it's helped us get a lot of business. And we've won in multiple situations where we've competed against 20, 30. We just got an offer accepted against 41 offers, and it was financed. So, these things do work. And thanks so much for watching. Make sure to subscribe if you're watching this on YouTube. Make sure to subscribe, hit that notification bell so you can get all our latest videos the second they come out. Thanks so much for watching. Take care, guys. Love you. Stay safe. Let me stop sharing my screen and see ya.